Well, hello. I am just testing out this laptop. It's been a pain in the ass. This is just a quick test. If I can use this laptop to stream while I'm on the road. I'm in my back living room right now. Not normally with my big safe and everything. So just want to see if this is going to work. Bear with me. Somehow I've been using Mob Crush, but it doesn't want to. Streamlabs doesn't want to accept the um, stream key, so I'm trying this right now. So let's see what we got. I'm gonna pull up a YouTube thing that I already had saved, but I had to change everything. Okay. I look at my history, and of course, everything I had here is not here, so just bear with me. Oh boy. Okay, here it is.
They say, right? China knows full well any.
Sorry about that. I would normally have this all keyed up. Okay. Now you can see it in the corner. Hopefully, I don't know why it's doing that. But basically, uh, Tim Pool is talking about how, I guess yesterday there was some live video or pictures of the embassy, um, the embassy for China was being, they were burning documents and stuff. So I want to see if we can get this to go. Let me hit this button.
Last night, like something out of a movie, video emerged of people frantically burning something in the courtyard of a building. As it turns out, this was the Chinese consulate in Houston frantically burning documents. People noticed the smoke, called the fire department, who came in. And as it turns out, the United States has ordered the closure of the Chinese consulate amid an ongoing spying scandal where hackers have been accused of stealing COVID vaccine research at the behest of China. So apparently, after they got word they had to shut down the consulate, they went to the courtyard and frantically destroyed these documents. I swear it's like something out of a movie, man. But the escalation of tensions between the US and China are getting pretty fierce. Now, Trump has been tough on China for quite some time. Earlier this year, we saw China moving a strike group through the South China Sea between Taiwan. This got a lot of people angry. China's been trying to assert control in this area for a very long time, infringing on the territorial waters of other countries, even sinking Vietnamese fishing boats. In response, the U.S. has sent in destroyers and sent aircraft carriers to the region. Suffice it to say, we are dangerously close to a war with China. But now we have a GOP senator arguing that we need to fundamentally rethink our relationship because tensions are getting hot. We've already seen tons of articles going back years warning us about something called Thucydides' trap, which basically is saying that as China grows in power, the likelihood of war with the U.S. becomes almost entirely, well, closer to 1. Like it's actually going to happen. Many people want to avert this, but we're now entering what some describe as a Cold War. Well,
So basically, he's talking about we closed down an embassy and they started burning all the documents because they pretty much got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. And espionage and trying to break in or find documentation on the COVID-19. They're very interested in seeing who has it first, which will control the economy, which will control everything. So let's continue.
Some argue that the Cold War started a long time ago. Others argue it's beginning just now. Some are very pessimistic about it, and others are still rather pessimistic, but less so. But amid all of this, there are questions about who's handling things properly. Of course, media propaganda seems to have emerged like clockwork, perfectly, right around the time the closure was announced. Stories are blaming Trump, saying he's doing a terrible job, and it's probably just because it's an opportunity for the media to once again say Orange Man bad. Or maybe it's because there are a lot of powerful interests who have financial ties to China and are worried about what it really means as this escalation and tit for tat continues. Let's get started and read about exactly what's going on with China and why they were torching these documents, as you can see on the screen. The first story from CNN. U.S. orders closure of Chinese consulate in Houston. Before we get started, however, head over to timcast.com/donate if you'd like to support my work. There are many ways you can give, but the best thing you can do is seriously just subscribe to this channel.
So like I've told you before on my other podcast, this is like my third one. I'm just trying the laptop out so I can do things on the road. But Tim Pool has basically been demonetized because he sees the real stuff, and he's just asking you to follow him or send out his stuff because he gets nothing from YouTube and a lot of these places because they demonetized him because he tells the truth mostly, and they don't like that. He doesn't push the left narrative and the media elite. We'll continue.
Assumed most people would, but surprisingly around half or so people don't subscribe to my channel, even though they do consistently watch. So if you really want to make sure YouTube is sending you my videos when they come out, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and hit that notification bell. Let's read the news. CNN reports, the United States government has abruptly ordered China to cease all operations and events at its consulate in Houston, Texas, according to the Chinese Foreign Ministry, in what it called an unprecedented escalation in recent actions taken by Washington. U.S. State Department spokeswoman Morgan Ortagus said the consulate was directed to close, quote, in order to protect American intellectual property and Americans' private information, but did not immediately provide additional details of what prompted the closure. Now, I'm going to stop right here and just say it appears to be that they believe China was trying to steal COVID research. Relations between China and the U.S. have plummeted in the past year amid an ongoing trade war, the coronavirus pandemic, and U.S. criticism of China's human rights abuses in Hong Kong and Xinjiang. A spokesperson for the State Department said in a separate statement that China has engaged for years in massive illegal spying and influence operations, and that those activities have increased markedly in scale and scope over the past few years. Late Tuesday evening, police in Houston said they responded to reports of smoke in the courtyard outside the consulate, located on Montrose Boulevard in the city's Midtown area. Local media shared a video of what happened to be officials inside the compound burning documents. What could they possibly be burning?
Now remember, if you don't know, I used to go to China all the time, in India, and in China they copy everything. And matter of fact, they have China, make all the DVDs for the software and for any video or anything, so they get all that stuff for free. There is no, they have. Copyright laws don't mean nothing to these people, but they've, over the years, have become quite savvy on espionage and taking and stealing people's intellectual properties, businesses, and how they deal, and they want to know about this COVID-19 because it did happen there. But I'm going to go a little step further. Today I received an email. I'm so upset about it. I received some text email thing from, I'm looking at my phone, talking about Anthony Fauci, the guy that did some pretty good work on the AIDS situation. He was with the Obama administration, and a lot of people don't know that the Obama administration and our government, with the help of Fauci, sent a ton of money and help over to Wuhan to get this lab going that ended up having this virus breakout. So Fauci's involved all the way. Remember, Fauci also said, no masks are needed, it's not necessary. And a lot of doctors now are saying it's bad for you, but it isn't fitting the narrative. So I got this thing today on my phone, and it basically said, we'd like you to help support the Democratic Party, and that you'll get one of these personalized Fauci signed mask that they're, if you want to donate some money to the Democratic Party, which I sure in the hell ain't going to. But let's continue. Sorry about for the rant, but let's continue.
I'm sure a lot of it's nonsense, but hey, loose lips sink ships, they say, right? China knows full well any bit of information from inside that building seized by the U.S. will be used against them, so they just lighten it all up. In a statement posted on its official social media, the Chinese Foreign Ministry said the order to close the consulate was, quote, a political provocation unilaterally launched by the U.S. side, which seriously violates international law, basic norms governing international relations, and the bilateral consular agreement between China and the U.S. The Chinese Foreign Ministry condemned the decision and urged the U.S. to withdraw it. The statement goes on to say that the U.S. has been, quote, shifting the blame to China with stigmatization and unwarranted attacks against China's social system, harassing Chinese diplomatic and consular staff in the U.S., intimidating and interrogating Chinese students, and confiscating their personal electrical devices, even detaining them without cause. It added, China is committed to the principle of non-interference. Infiltration and interference is never in the genes and tradition of China's foreign policy. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is currently in Europe, where he has been rallying leaders on the continent to take a harder line with Beijing and meeting with exiled dissidents. Pompeo declined to offer further details about the ordered closure when asked Wednesday. Now, this escalation isn't just about the spying of COVID research. It has a lot to do with Hong Kong. Trump recently signed an executive order granting substantial powers to, I believe, essentially to seize the property of individuals, anyone, even Americans, seen to be engaged in activities that would suppress the rights of those in Hong Kong. I'm trying to be very careful because it was an extensive executive order. I'm not a lawyer, but it really does sound like Trump and the Department of Justice they're not playing games anymore. Bill Barr called out Hollywood and big tech for cozying up to China, saying you better watch yourself, otherwise you're going to have to register as foreign agents if you keep giving in to what China wants. Making note that in the U.S., for instance, the iPhone, the FBI or the DOJ, they don't have a backdoor access to the iPhone. And perhaps it's a good thing. I mean, we have our civil rights here. We have the Fourth Amendment. But in China, Bill Barr notes, do you think they'd be able to sell the iPhone in China without giving China access? They're an authoritarian government. Yeah, I don't think so. If that's the case, then these big tech companies are giving them serious powers.
So, like I said, in China, even though they sell a lot of product and they appear to be like, oh, it's a big open market, everything they do is for the government. It is a communist country, and the freedoms that we have, I'm 100%. If somebody goes in and does really bad, and they have his phone, and Apple says, hey, no, I'm not going to do it. It's personalized. This person did something terrible, and we need to know if there's other people involved. I don't agree that, oh, no, we're not going to do it. So basically, they found another trick to get into it. Matter of fact, I think it's McCaffrey or whatever, the guy that created the software for viruses. He offered to go into the phone and fix it. Many people did. But I'm not a big Apple fan. I mean, I have one for work. But I mean, And remember, they don't want to touch on anybody's toes because, that's where they get their bread and butter. But I will say that they did open a plant, I think making one of the new 16-inch Macs here in America. I applaud them on that. Um, there's other places we can go besides China, other countries we can go um, to get work done. And we need to get work done here too. Let's see how much longer this goes, but we'll get back to it.
CNN says, according to a statement on its website, the Houston consulate covers 8 southern U.S. states, including Texas and Florida, as well as Puerto Rico. It was quote, was the first consulate to be established in 1979 after the U.S. and China established diplomatic relations, though a liaison office was currently operating in Washington, D.C. at the time. On Tuesday, U.S. prosecutors charged 2 alleged Chinese hackers over, quote, sweeping global computer intrusion program that they say was supported by the country's government and aimed at coronavirus treatment and vaccine research. The indictment also marks the first time that the U.S. has accused the hackers of working on behalf of the Chinese government. So as we can see here in these posts from local news, the fire department came out, put a ladder up over the building. I guess here's what they say. Houston Fire and police are responding to reports of documents being burned at the Consulate General of China. They mentioned the address. Here's what the scene looks like right now. Things are getting spicy, man. China's vowing to retaliate after U.S. orders closure of its consulate in Houston. They say Beijing immediately vowed to retaliate for the unprecedented escalation, leading to speculation it could order the closure of the U.S. consulate in Wuhan. In Wuhan, of all places, huh? Very interesting. Which has been shuttered since the novel coronavirus epidemic spread across the city in January.
Really? They're threatening to shut down the U.S. Embassy in Wuhan, where all this shit started. They'd be doing us a fucking favor. What do you believe? I think they'd be doing us a favor. I say pull out. I'm not a big fan. I was unaware that 80 to something, 90% of all the medicine we get comes from there. A lot of stuff we rely on from there. And when they're not an ally, they're definitely we're against them. You know what I mean? They're not our ally, and we've pretty much since the NAFTA. Thank you, Bill Clinton. I voted for Ross Perot, the guy with the big ass ears. If maybe you guys aren't old enough to know, but they were all up on stage, and Ross Perot. There was Bush Sr., Bill Clinton, and then Ross Perot in the middle. And when he got to talk, he brought out a big old paper, and he had this little laser pointer, and he says, I'm going to tell you, if you let this NAFTA go through, you're going to hear a sucking sound of all your jobs going to foreign countries. And he was right on the money. I'll get back to this.
I mean, it's already shut down for obvious reasons. But man, I'll tell you what. The thing you got to understand about war and conflict is it's kind of like a cockroach. You see one on the wall, there's 1,000 hiding behind it. What that means in relation to this? When you see Chinese officials rushing to burn documents, I'm fairly certain we are not getting the full-scale story of what's really going on. Now, again, people have said we're in a Cold War, and we're dangerously close to a hot war. They say analysts on both sides say that bilateral relations are at their worst since before 1979, when the United States formally recognized the People's Republic of China. At this rate, I wouldn't even be surprised if Trump decides to sever diplomatic relations with China someday, said Chu Shulong, a professor in American politics and diplomacy in Tsinghua University, suggesting that this was part of President Trump's re-election strategy. Well, I'll stop you right there. GOP senator warns of China century, reveals plan to unravel U.S.-Beijing ties. Tennessee Senator Marsha Blackburn has released a new white paper calling on Washington, D.C. to broadly reshape its relationship with the Chinese Communist Party amid the coronavirus crisis, warning that failure to do so may allow Beijing to set the global narrative and encourage authoritarianism worldwide. Hear, hear. I agree, man. Listen, I've talked about this quite a bit, the NBA's custom jerseys, where you could write any message you want on the back of a jersey, any name, except for slurs and free Hong Kong. The NBA said this was but a humble glitch, and we will fix it, and then ultimately decided to remove the entire thing altogether. You're not going to be seeing these high-profile NBA businesses and corporations saying free Hong Kong anytime soon. Why? They're starting to make a lot of money in China. So we've even seen high-profile individuals with the NBA, most of you know the story, refuse to call out the human rights abuses. This is where things get scary. If we don't stand up now and call them out, our corporations and our social norms will be overrun by Chinese authoritarianism, the Chinese Communist Party. Blackburn, a prominent critic of China critic, who has long lobbied for closer scrutiny of U.S. ties with Beijing, published her white paper Wednesday against a backdrop of deteriorating Washington-Beijing relations and the closing of the Chinese consulate in Houston. In her paper, Blackburn describes 2020 as a momentous year in U.S.-China relations, thanks to the coronavirus pandemic, a raft of trade tensions, territorial disputes, and human rights issues. Though these issues are pushing lawmakers and voters towards more China-skeptic sentiment, Blackburn told Newsweek Tuesday that her paper offers detail on how to translate that into policy.
So, if you guys are unaware that recently, this couple days ago, that they now have proof that China is got like little FEMA camps. Now, originally the reports were saying that they were enslaving Muslims. It looks like they're enslaving a lot of people, including their own. They ship them off on trains to work in like slave camps and stuff. I mean, these people are pretty bad. So, I mean, you can't be shocked, can you? I mean, and Russia's no different. They're both communist countries, and they both play from the same playbook. So I'm going to stop this right now. I just wanted to test this out. Sorry if I bothered or bored the hell out of you guys, but I was just trying this out. Like I said, I was using Mob Crush, then it would stream everything out, but it's not working. I put the code in. It does it on the PC, but I guess laptops are a pain in the ass. I worked all day to get this to work because things don't want to work right. So I'll figure it out sooner or later. I'll just do it this way. But I appreciate if you end up checking this out. And tomorrow is a big day. If you're a gamer, noon Eastern time, there will be the Microsoft Xbox will reveal all their games for the new Xbox Series X system. They may talk about their S Series system, which is another one. So we're all waiting for that tomorrow. So it is now 1 a.m. in the morning Eastern, and they have been put on furlough this week by my company. So that's the reason why I'm up late. I've been working on this all day to get it to work. But I appreciate if you do end up watching this or you hit the like button or whatever. Appreciate it. Peace out. Everybody have a